Greetings, and welcome to CIBER Focus, your source for timely international business strategy. My name is Jimmy Bettcher, and our guest today is Bridget Darko. Bridget is the Executive Director of Aid to Artisans Ghana and holds an MBA in Finance. She has extensive knowledge on handcraft and small business development. Over the past 17 years, as an employee of Aid to Artisans Ghana, she has worked to enhance income levels and employment generation in the craft industry in Ghana through product design and development, business training, market development, advocacy, and advisory services. Bridget, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
For our viewers not familiar with Aid to Artisans, could you tell us a bit more about the organization?
Yeah. Aid to Artisans Ghana, it's a non-governmental organization, non-profit, and it was locally incorporated in 1989. And we really started active work in 1993 when we had done some work to really ascertain that handcraft could be a non-traditional export product. And basically, as you already said, our core activities have been in product design and development, business training, and market development for the artisans in Ghana. And we also do other, provide other services as and when they come up.
Okay.
Yep.
What kind of successes have you seen with some of the initiatives of Aid to Artisans in Ghana?
Successes. At this time, our business is very low.
Okay.
I mean, especially with the export bit, we sort of really went low when there was recession. So I don't normally feel very comfortable about talking about successes, but if I should say that in the past, we were exporting, as a country, we're just doing like under 200,000, but that must have been before the 90s. And well, with the project, since we started doing, we sort of got income, export earnings to rise to about 14 million.
Okay.
And I think some of our successes have been to have linked up with some of the retail chains in America, like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, exporting to them and being able to organize ourselves to do orders of maybe 600,000 at a go. And we think it's a success because if you consider that the average item would be between $5 to $10, and so if somebody is really ordering 500,000 delivery 90 days, then there's quite some work to be done.
Yeah.
And also with craft, it's basically all local resources used. So almost all the money then goes back into the system.
Great. Well, how did you get involved in Aid to Artisans originally?
Well, I did my first degree in development planning, and I always loved the informal sector. But somehow after school, I worked in the cocoa waste industry, and then I decided to go back to school because the cocoa waste was more of an agric thing. I didn't really feel that was my area. So I went back to school to do my MBA. Whilst doing the MBA, I did my thesis on financing for supply of credit for small enterprises. And at that time, I really knew that if I had to continue that work, I really had a passion for it. I had to work in the ministry, so the public service, because it's really linked to it in terms of sourcing funds and everything. So I worked with the Ministry of Finance for a couple of years, and then somehow this lady who was working with Aid to Artisans was looking for somebody to head Aid to Artisans, and just bumped into me, and she convinced me. She convinced me to do the work because my father, I come from a cultural background. My father was an anthropologist and was in culture. So, there's that element of craft in it. And then my sister is an artist, I'm not. And then my bigger brother had been exporting. He has started an export business with craft too. So it all sort of fell.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I just picked it and I've been going with it. It's been challenging. I still don't feel very successful yet.
Mm-hmm.
I still need to make sure that the organization is sustainable to provide the services that we seek to do.
Now, so you've been with Aid to Artisans for 17 years now?
A long time.
How have you seen the organization change over those 17 years? Or how has it grown or changed strategy or focus or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, in terms of growth, I always want to look at the bad side first.
Mm-hmm.
Since we are there to facilitate the artisans in the industry, we sort of tend to link our success with the growth of the industry. So now we are not very comfortable because the industry has really gone low. And like I said, because of the recession and sometimes some of our own bad judgments and complacency. So we are not doing as well. So currently we don't feel very comfortable because of the industry we are serving. On the other hand, if I look back to see where we started from and where we are now, I don't think it's been too bad. If I take one aspect of our work, in terms of local retailing, we started with a very small shop within our office, but now we have 5 small shops. And really, in Ghana, we normally have craft shops, like individual craft shops. We don't have craft shops that have sort of branches, whatever you call it. So in that sense, I mean, it's not been too bad. We still really have a lot to do with making our shops look better and generate more. And so we also, somewhere along the line, we are physically sustainable because we have our own building. And I think that we also made a good decision when we had funding from USAID to do that project, which we did with Aid to Artisans in the US. And they are like our mother organization, but we are really separate. And when we were doing that project, it was a 4-year project, and we used to have our funds given to us annually. And with our board, we had a good board, and I think it's very critical for nonprofit to have a good board for governance. And we decided that we will not let our money sit with the bank and not generate anything from it. So we would always put like the second half of our funds, second half of the year, funds we're going to use for the second half of the year, buy treasury bills, and at that time the treasury bill rates were good. So we bought treasury bills and generated income. We did a tight cash flow, so all our monies were put on call because we just decided that every city counted. So over the 4-year period, all the monies that we generated, we rolled over. And at the time that the project was coming to an end and we knew we could not afford that high rent, we decided that we will invest in a building, in our own building, so that we would always be there for the artisans to see us. So that's what we did. And so we put our money into our building. And, you know, in Ghana, it's not really like here. When you are building, you do little by little. And so we just did it as in the Ghanaian way. So in the evening, we had to move in. When the place was not completed, we'll move our desk to have the floor done. We'll move this way just to have it done. But we managed and we survived to have a roof over our heads. So I think that was okay. I mean, we just are mindful of our financial management just to be able to generate income.
And you're really leveraging what minimal funds you have to provide maximum impact on the ground.
In terms of strategy, we also realized along the line that all that we seek to do, it has to be paid for. The artisans are not in a position to pay for that, so it's purely a developmental work. And who pays for it? In the past, you look for donor funds, but then there was donor fatigue, and so and we're not going to close up because there was still a need for our services. So we sort of looked more closely at our shops, but we thought that was not going to be enough. Our retail shops do help us generate income, and also it's an outlet for the artisans. So that has one footing in development work and one footing in generating income. So we also had to look at it again. So our strategic direction was to sort of do a little bit of a focus on generating income, and so that's the commercial activity. And so we also had somewhere along the line, we knew that we needed to bridge the gap between tradition and technology, because that's the only way we could grow with times. And so we had this media lab where we're doing more of design work, doing 3D design work, rapid prototyping. And so, but luckily, it came at a time when we're not doing purely development work, so we could look at that as a commercial venture. And so we sort of, our strategic direction was to develop that bit more, and then we also bumped into some casting work. So basically now we have this commercial part, and that's what we are seeking sort of assistance to straighten it up, to generate income. And then we also do a little bit of consultancy, because that comes almost naturally. Having worked in the industry for 17 years, you still have a lot of information. So we do get some consultancy work in doing surveys, needs assessments, kind of surveys.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, talking about the industry more broadly, and you said that there's been some difficulties, especially getting into the export market and things like that. What do you think are the biggest challenges in the craft industry in Ghana right now?
The biggest challenge is the market. Is the market, because market research is always a big issue for us. There's such a big gap between the producer and the end user. So for us to always have information on the market so that we can really develop products to suit the needs and expectations of the market is the biggest thing for us. And also trying to balance our production capabilities with the market needs. It's also a challenge. I mean, at what stage do we look at shops, like retail shops, discount shops like TJ Maxx, and as opposed to the smaller, how would you call it, niche market? And so we almost always need to be able to figure it out. And, you know, the production of the craft is not like companies, that you have company A, B, C, D doing all of it. You have the artisans. It's like all the employees or the shop floor people are individuals working on their own. And then the companies sort of, it's fluid. I mean, company A, who is the exporter, can use the same artisans as company B would be using. So, I mean, trying to match their production capabilities with the market is always a big challenge. And also getting feedback from the market is also very critical. Who our competitors are here, we don't know. We don't have an idea sometimes about what kind of products we are competing with in terms of size, color, price level, which, I mean, what is it, what variations. And so those are really some of the challenges we face as an industry.
Now, you mentioned that you had worked a bit with TJ Maxx and maybe some other American businesses. Do you have any advice for any American businesses who might be interested in partnering with Aid to Artisans Ghana? Like, how would they go about that? And you know, how would a business go about maybe getting involved in the craft industry in Ghana?
Well, in terms of, I mean, buying, all that they need to do is to get in touch with us. We have a website that is atagh.org, so you can always contact us. And once you contact us, we will start communicating with you to find out about your real needs in terms of what products you are looking for, in terms of quantities, and then we're able to match that. So we then send you photo codes, or if we are lucky to have you come down, which is always good for us for the first time, we will arrange your buyer visit for you, and then we would invariably organize an exhibition of the suppliers that are your potential customers, and then you pick it up. And then the way we have worked, so that the buyer does not have to deal with all the individual suppliers, you work through, I mean, sometimes ATAG acts as an agent. We also can introduce you to other agents, so that will be your sort of representative. And then we check on the consolidation. So you don't really need to bother yourself about the downstream of the supply chain.
Okay. And well, you're here at Kelley working with the MBA Glow-Based program. Could you maybe share a little bit about what it's like, or what it has been like, working with MBA student consultants, and share a little bit about the experience?
Well, I mean, I'm grateful to be here because it's like getting tuition free of charge. We have learned a lot from them, from some of the class we have attended, so that is on the lighter side of it. But in terms of why we are here, like I said, I think that they are asking very relevant questions that keeps me thinking about whether my strategy is going to work or not. And they also, it's a good feel, I mean, like good teamwork, and very optimistic about the end results. We also just want to make sure that there is a kind of sustainability with the relationship. Since no business is going to be static, we still will have to figure out how that collaboration will be sustainable, I mean, between the team and between our organization and the school after the consultancy work has been done. And also, we think that whatever we have gained, we need to share with other people, so we will be prepared to share with any other organization.
Well, Bridget, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you really enjoy the rest of your visit here in Bloomington.
It's my pleasure.
Great.
I wish you all the best. And anyway, thank you. Yesterday we were at I hadn't been to a basketball match before, and that was also very interesting, and we didn't travel this far for nothing.
Yeah, great.
You did one, so congratulations.
All right. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you got some great advice. If you have topics that you'd like to discuss in future cyber focuses, please contact the Center for International Business Education and Research at the Kelley School of Business.